Hey everyone, this is Fisherman's Village Broadcast Happy Hour, and we are here at the Shack Arts Center in downtown Everett. My name's Eva Walker, and this is brought to you by Tito, Vodka, and Elysian Brewing. And I'm here with Stephanie Ann Johnson. Hello.
Hi.
And Stephanie brought some amazing musicians that was playing on stage as well. Can you introduce your wonderful...
Yeah, introduce everyone. This is Arturo Ortega playing the drums, and we got Jesse Turcotte here on bass. And when our powers combine, we're the Hidogs.
Yes, yes. And you're awesome.
Thank you.
So I want to start with, I actually don't know where I want to start. Because you're amazing. So I want to start over here. How did you develop the amazing voice that you have?
20 years of singing scales all day, every day. That's about it. I started taking voice lesson when I was 14. Got my first guitar at the same time. For voice lesson, it was all like, this was all public school that I went through. The Tacoma Public Schools, District 10, and then I went on to do PLU, which is a great choral college. So at the same time when I was getting all this vocal training, keep your voice until you're 65, like sing Glitter and Be Gay until you're 87, like do this. I was also like, getting made fun of by the kids in opera class because I was like, what's wrong? What do you mean you don't like Rage Against the Machine? Stress.
Yeah, no, totally. And you and the Hidogs have done some amazing stuff. You've opened for Mavis Staples twice, I heard today. I didn't realize that was...
Yeah. She did two dates. And Dan Tyak was with me on those gigs. So yeah, the dogs were there, was present. Yeah, that was so...
That's amazing.
Oh man, that was so wild.
But also Cedric Burnside.
Yes.
Black Joe Lewis.
Yes.
And I know you play with Brett Benton.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, have you crossed paths with Cedric Burnside
Definitely,
as
yeah.
well? Yeah.
We did an album together.
There you go. So, tell me what this is like. I mean, you're all playing with some amazing people.
Yeah. If you think about it too hard, you go to space, and you're
It's so real.
you forget where the ground is. But I feel pretty blessed to have musicians that keep me grounded and focused when my brain is cats.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And how was it playing the Bernie Sanders rally? That was at Tacoma Dome.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you want to talk about that one?
I mean, it was wild. It was, the biggest room I'd ever played in, naturally. But all the lights were bright because of security, so there was like no kind of, nothing resembling a gig about it except that we played music at it. And there were other bands playing music at it. But they treated us great. We got to meet Bernie. They stood everybody in their little pods, and he came around and worked the room like Sinatra, the handshakes and the thank yous. And yeah, Portugal the Man was headlining that one. And I mean, yeah, it was an extremely unique experience. And the video we shot at it was magnificent and an awesome souvenir to have for sure.
How was it to meet Bernie?
Yeah, I kind of left my body for a second. It happened so fast.
Yeah.
He was very sweet. Very sweet man.
Yep. A sweet, doddering old man.
And I don't know how appropriate this is, but I'm just going to go for it. So, my brother and I got asked to play Elizabeth Warren's rally. But because we were going for Bernie, we said no. You can either leave this in or cut it out. And so when you got the Bernie, I was like, I am so happy and jelly and so happy. But I was very, very happy to hear that you all got that. That's incredible.
We were fortunate to have our booking agent, Mackenzie McCannish, hooked us up with that one. And we were on the way to a gig. We were carpooling on the way to the gig. And I'm like, Facebooking intensely. And then Mackenzie gets at us and it's like, you got it. And we I went to Disney on Ice and the Tacoma Dome, like as a 6-year-old. So to be on stage in there was like...
And don't you love that feeling? But then, like, you can't tell anyone for a while. And so you're just sitting there like, people People are wondering why you're doing all of this.
And Mackenzie always has that one friend. He's like, it's probably impossible, but I got this one friend who's associated with the camp, so let me just call and try. It's a total Mackenzie thing. And he's like, we got it.
Mm-hmm.
So you released Take This Love in 2019, which is incredible. Tell me about making that record.
We had 6 weeks of rehearsal. I think it was weekly
It
rehearsal.
was like twice a week for a good part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We over prepared.
Because
Which felt good.
we had 10 songs ready to record, and then at the start of that 6 week period, I was like, here are 10 more. Let's do it. And we got everything up to speed, and we went into Litho Studio with Floyd Reitzma, and we recorded 22 tracks in 2 days.
Wow.
Something ridiculous. Yeah.
In 2 days.
Mm-hmm. And then we got to listen to everything and take our time and decide what we wanted to put on the record. I'm a big fan of artistically of like, let's get everything on the table and then let's chuck what's not good.
Mm-hmm.
Like that seems like because then, you sharpen your editing skills too
Mm-hmm.
while you're making a thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, what's left over was all extremely good. Those were hard choices.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard when something doesn't make that piece that you're really putting the promo behind, and it's kind of left on the cutting board. Like, it's a beautiful piece of art, but what will it like be in the world?
Mm-hmm.
And those decisions still kind of have to be made. I think we made some of it available to like Patreon members and stuff like that, but by and large, the world hasn't heard like at least 5 super finished, super awesome band tunes from that session.
Mm-hmm. Dan Tyak and I put out a 5-track right after Take This Love that was also stuff that was recorded the second day, I think.
Little duo session.
Mm-hmm. So that duo EP is out on the Bandcamp if that's your business. And yeah, there's a good 8 or 9 band tunes that we got to start giving to
Doing
people.
something
Doing
with.
something with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say is the common theme of Take This Love? And was that something considered when doing the elimination process of what goes on that record versus the ones that didn't make?
You should talk
Record.
about that. He's got the good musical taste.
We all do. There's a sense of magnetism.
Stephanie
about
hasn't heard themselves sing yet. So. The good musical taste. Are you kidding me?
I know. Get out of here.
Let's show them a recording of what just happened. Replay.
Certain songs just like have a magnetism to each other. So it was really about making the most evocative sequence of a music listening experience that we could. All the songs to some extent had to do with love in various forms, feelings between different characters.
Mm-hmm.
So and that's a common thread in your songwriting, period.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
the hardest part was really deciding how many we're going to hold ourselves to and then getting the order. But I could go back in time and reshuffle that deck and release it as a double record and still probably be just as thrilled with it. Like, it was a really, being there at Litho with Floyd, like the environment was just perfect to really feel it and just not only show up in the moment, but like lose yourself in it and really deliver amazing performances. So it was an ideal studio experience for all of us.
And I didn't write this up there, but I do want to ask the dog on the cover. What does that represent? I love it.
My cousin Riley Savage, who's an artist and does a lot of underground hip hop album covers and stuff like that, did that. It's kind of out of his style range, but work with family and friends when you can.
Yeah.
But we tied it in as we named the puppy Love. So Take This Love was about kind of acknowledging, finding, celebrating love in all its forms.
Yeah.
And from experience in other bands, you put an animal on it, it's easier to sell. It's easier for people to connect to. Which one do you want? I want the one with the puppy on it. We all do the same thing. So,
Yeah. So I remember hearing about Stephanie Ann Johnson when it was just Stephanie Ann Johnson. I feel like I have to say the whole name. I love how it flows. Talk to me about the Hidogs.
The Hidogs started. I had gone down to the Oregon Shakespeare Festival to be in their first all black production, to be on the outdoor stage. They were doing The Wiz, and there was all kinds of drama with that. But I'd been there for 10 months, and then Jesse, whom I got to know you when we were at the same jams at the Jazz Bones. like
Okay.
10 years ago, something like
The
this.
Sunday night jams.
Yeah, the Sunday night Big Friction
The
Jam.
Big Friction Jam.
And so you started messaging me in 2016 to be like, oh, you're coming home soon, right? You want to play this music? And I was like, you know, still decide, like, because I was musical theater, do I want to like try and be like a headliner for this, or do I want to play music? I was kind of doing this about it. And Jesse was over here just being like, what are you doing?
And we had had a chance to play together because I was booking at Doyle's down there in Tacoma. I booked you with the trio, and then there was personnel issues.
Yep.
And rather than cancel the show, I was like, how about I'll learn your set, play bass, just so that the show can go on and we can do the thing. And it was just super fun.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
You
And
know?
how did the rest of the band sort of come together?
You know, really it was you, but also me. Because I had previously in a different band had played with Dan Tyak before. Actually, I was doing The Voice in 2013 where I met Austin Jenks, and Austin Jenks said to me, you know that Dan Tyak? I'm like, who are you talking about? And then I saw Dan was playing with Jeff Leonard, and they were both backing up Austin at some Seattle thing that I was also on that year. And I saw him and was like, who is this? What is this? And so for a while it was me, guitar, vocal, drums, bass, and keyboard. Then the keyboard left and we got Dan. So yeah, it's been kind of shifting personnel a little bit.
It was a lot of like hanging out at my house and inviting friends in the musical family to come over, and you know, consistency and interests dictate repeat engagements.
Yeah.
And eventually it settled on a lineup.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a great lineup too. So in July of this year, 2020, you released American Blues, which is a powerful song. Can you just elaborate on that tune? It's beautiful.
So wrote American Blues in 2016 when I was still down in Ashland at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. And we were doing a Juneteenth festival. I believe, I think it was Philando Castile who had just been murdered. And, you know, all black show that we were doing, like one of the gals in the cast and one of the gals in admin, who are both black females, were verbally accosted on the street. We had pushback from local business owners about there being so many black people in town. So, you know, we were getting ready to do that like outdoor Juneteenth show. And I think I was playing If One of Us Is Chained, None of Us Is Free by the Five Blind Boys of Alabama. And that was my first time with like, because there was a black guitar player, a black drummer, and a black bass player in town. And so we got together and were able to do that really quickly with two other singers. And, you know, in the theater, it's hurry up and wait. So here I am waiting to go on. We're sitting on the bricks. The tree has been taken out since, but it had been the hanging tree in the center of Ashland, Oregon, which had been a sundown town for many years. And there's a KKK stronghold like 50 miles down the road, something like this. Very dangerous, super scary. Sitting under this tree, and I wrote it start to finish in about 20 minutes. And then when I came back and we started playing together, you had expressed interest in playing with me. And I spent a whole year being like, I'm not playing that with anybody. I'm playing that just with myself, and I'm going to keep it for myself. But then I relented because the Dogs are really like, it's a really open creative space, I think, all things considered. So then I opened it up and we recorded it in that same batch of 22 tunes there at Litho. And then it was your idea to try and release it as close to the 4th of July as we could get. When we shot the video, Tifa Toom, we tapped her to shoot the video with us in Point Defiance in Tacoma, which is still one of the places I go if I'm feeling away, because that's where the nature is and all kinds of like wonderful feelings from childhood and a youth of driving through 5 Mile Drive and smoking too much weed. So yeah, all in all, it was good. It was good.
So you wrote it in 2016, which I did not know. What made July of 2020 the time to release it?
I don't know. It came together. It was time to be telling people about it. Hell, I didn't become a Beyonce fan until she became a little bit more militant. So, like, I spent a lot of years, especially when I was working on cruise ships, like, okay, I'm going to be out here playing this music, and the goal is to not make white people mad. So, like, let me just learn, Forever and Ever Amen and a bunch of Bonnie Raitt and try to keep myself safe. But, like, that's not a good way to live as a musician, I feel.
Absolutely. Wow. It's awesome. So deep. So, I'm like trying to keep it pushing, but I'm like, can I also have like some feelings during these interviews? So, I watched a KEXP performance, and during part of the interview, something stood out to me that you said, which was you have an educated and technical feeling about your voice, which has allowed you to have choices.
Yes.
And I'm curious how you expressed that before you had those abilities, that training. And the second half of that question is, what's your advice to someone who doesn't have access to that training, wants those choices? I feel like you have something to say there. You would have a really good advice for people who kind of need help having those choices.
I was in my early 20s, I think maybe I was 20 or 21, this like famous opera singer named Friederike von Stade came to my college, and several of us were picked to sing for her in what's called a master class. And you sing your song for somebody and they critique you and you sing it again, and it's usually better the second time, third time, something like this. And some of the advice she told us, she said, play around the edges of what your voice can do. So, I mean, I could stay in my wheelhouse and be very comfortable, but comfort doesn't necessarily make good art all the time. So it's about keeping it pushing, I feel. I still take a voice lesson because I learned to sing classically, but I never took lesson on like proper belting technique until the last like 2-3 years. My current voice teacher I met her backstage at The Voice because one of my former students was her current student.
Oh, wow.
So she was there mentoring this gal whom I had previously mentored. So that's where we first met. And she's from Tacoma, lives a couple minutes from my house. She saw me at Brew 5-3. You and me and Jordani were playing that then. And Ivan was there. Is that Ivan?
Yeah.
Yeah. She saw me at that gig and she was like, but I know you can do so much more. I know there's more space. Like, what are you doing? What are you studying? So she got me back into technique and study. Everything that you do on stage is a choice. Everything that you do is a choice. What you wore, that's your choice. What you say to the audience, that's a choice. How you're singing the song, how you're telling the story, everything is a choice. So figure out what tools are yours to best utilize and then make great choices. With that, the way to figure out what great choices are is to have great taste. So you got to have the homies with a good musical taste to give you the stuff that you're not used to. Like on singers, I can find all kinds of singers. But on the more funky stuff or 70s stuff or JJ Cale, I had never heard about until I met you, So like find a different musical taste and listen, and then you develop what you like, right? And we're all good at what we like, yeah? So you figure out what those choices are, and then do what you like. The other thing is, go on ahead and see what other people might want you to sing. I didn't know that I could sing like Aretha Franklin until those musicians that do the tribute to the Last Waltz were like, okay, well, Aretha died. Do you want to come and sing Aretha Franklin's version of The Weight with us? And I was like, okay, well, I have 3 months to learn it. Let's do it. And then you don't resist the urge to build something into your voice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So this, I want to talk about like the idea of soul. So when I think of soul in music, I think of, do you believe it?
Yeah.
And do you feel it? Otherwise, why are you creating it? That's what I think of when I think of soul. And then there's the literal soul genre. And so my intent on this next question is basically, I know that Black musicians are more likely to be described as R&B, soul, funk. It's happened to me. Been described everything but rock and roll when all I'm playing is rock and roll. So I was looking at so everything that I found on Stephanie Ann Johnson and the Hidogs was described as soul, country soul, and Americana soul. So my question is, now that you know the intent, is that something that you all identify the band as? Is that something that's just been other people's description of the band? What's your opinion on that?
I mean, I think soul, aside from the style of music, when I think of soul in playing or singing, has to do with intention more than the style. When you're playing with soul, you're trying to explain something. Your intention is to translate what you feel, your emotions, and it goes through the instrument out to the people. So aside from style of music, I think every style of music should have some type of soul. Absolutely. I don't know what that looks like, but I think every musician has to have a soul to be able to like translate what you want to say to the people. I do think that the Hidogs, we have soul, and I do think that our style mix, it's just a little bit of a cocktail with a lot of soul aside from the style. But in the style of music, I do think there's soul in it. I think Stephanie is the one that writes the music for the most part, even though all of us kind of work around the music. But I do think that she puts a lot of emotion and intention into the music. And whether we're doing a country tune, a rock tune, blues, it doesn't matter. Americana, there's a taste of soul. There's it's a little bit of a spice, right? Mm-hmm. We're putting that soul on anything that we're doing. So yeah, I would say that for us, I would say our style has to do a lot with soul, whether we're playing any style that we play.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to hear from you all, and not necessarily from what people think you are, which of course it's fine for people to have their descriptions of you. What we've been called world rock before, and I was like, I think that's Yanni. I don't think we're world rock. I don't even know what that means. Yeah. And so, and that's why I wanted to know like how you all feel about that description or those descriptions, Americana soul, country soul, because I also see it as Stephanie Ann Johnson is a country musician.
That part. When I first started playing music, I was just trying to be Jewel. Lilith Fair was still a goddamn thing. I was trying to know what Sarah McLachlan and those was talking about. I was trying to find whatever Paula Cole was talking about. I was, listening to, white women. And if I could find anybody playing a guitar, I was into it. My granddad taught me to like rock and roll. Aerosmith, everything from Del Shannon to Aerosmith. It was a lot of study. Country music is just soul music for white people. Mm. I mean, if you can listen to Dolly Parton all day and not really cry, you're not getting to the good stuff. I just think that there is a lot of history in country music that can be explored, and a lot of Black erasure in country music that we can start to unroof. I had been playing guitar for 15 years before anybody told me about Sister Rosetta Tharpe. And I spent a long time having people tell me, well, why do you play guitar? White people do that. Boys do that. Why do you do that? And I started playing guitar for the most feminist reason ever. So I wouldn't have to wait for a man to come do it for me. Mm-hmm. And now I get to sit in rooms often with musicians whom I respect and make cool things. So do I think I'm a country musician? Yeah. Do I hope that country artists want to fuck with me? Absolutely. Is this also soulfied and electric? Absolutely. Is it a rock and roll idea? Yes, it is. I wanted music that sounds like all of us. I wanted music that sounds like my country. And there's a lot of different kinds of people in my country and a lot of different kinds of mixing in my country. And I like it just fine.
Perfect answer. Perfect. So, finally, I just, because, can't help but talk about this. How has it been with COVID and this new world of virtual concerts and, less interacting with the crowd? How are you all adapting to that? This is going to be kind of the reality for a while, it looks like. Do you feel more creative during this? Less creative? I know there's artists, and I've talked about this all week, artists that feel the pressure of, their fans or people on the outside expecting this amazing 2021 record, but they're like, I'm drained. I that's the last thing on my mind. And then there's artists that are really just like, I have nothing but time to be creative. And how do you all, and it's not so black and white like that, I know, for everyone, but how are you all feeling? Is it kind of like there's days where you're this and days when you're this? How are you all doing in all this?
I mean, the therapeutic value of performing in front of a crowd has never been more clear to me as far as what it was doing for me. It really carved that out as far as what that was doing for me emotionally, and it's missed, and there's like less balance because of it emotionally, like no question. I was forced to dive straight into live streaming knowing that it was going to be the only option for a while, and I tried to get ahead of the curve on that. So it's a way to be creative because videography it's all forms of engineering. You can't get into it and understand it without embracing this huge learning curve. So I guess I sort of just like deflected the loss of live music into learning a bunch of new stuff. So I'm keeping it together, but any chance even just to be able to play music together on a slightly bigger sound system than just the acoustic level of the drums, like there's these levels of satisfaction that rush over you when you get to do it again. There's nothing else like it. We all know that. And, we got to get it somehow. I guess we're doing what we can.
Yeah, totally.
And I think just as far as this, what 2021 is going to look like, I think it's going to come in many different flavors and tastes, I think. I think 2021 is going to be a reflection of many different experiences for people in 2020. Many of us have had to get a normal job, because you have to provide for family. Some other people have pushed through it, and some other people have done real creative at the same time that other people have, their anxiety and their emotions have gone through the roof. And for that reason, they haven't really created much. So just to expect 2021 to blow up creatively just because 2020 was so slow, I think it's a little pushing it. It's just, we will see. We love the feedback from people, and we love what we can create and stage when we have people watching us. We won't get that reaction and those emotions back until things get back to normal. In the meantime, I think it's good to be creative. I think, it's muscle memory, and it's easy to feel out of shape. I'm a drummer, and I'm used to playing 200 shows a year. And now it's like, wow, I can't even keep up with this show because I feel out of breath. Well, that's, it's muscle memory. And I think that just getting back at it, like this week, we played 2 shows. That's a treat for us. Best week of probably the past 4 months of my life.
Seriously.
So that's just amazing. And we can't wait to be able to get back at playing regularly and all that. But it was just, the unknown. It's just, we don't know what that's
so many venues are closing tragically, and so many bands won't even survive it because people are forced to get the straight jobs, availability changes, whatever. So it's really still overwhelming gratitude just to have people you can create with at all and get together and play with at all. Just to come out the other side with a project still is really something of value.
Absolutely.
It's not lost on me.
And I feel like part of the responsibility of taking care of artists is not putting the pressure on artists to have to, create something if they really just can't right now, and that's a way to sustain artists as well, and their mental health. Do you have any final words on this?
Octavia Butler tells us, sure, inspiration may get you, but habit is what is going to save you. And that has never been more true for me than right now. It is a habit for me to write 7 to 10 songs in every 6-week period. And I need that. Sure, part of it is my ego, but part of it is I have to suck the poison out. This has to come out of my body, because musical frustration or musical constipation is real. And so I have to keep myself kind of clean, I guess, in this way.
Yeah.
So it becomes more of a cleansing ritual of, okay, well, here's the new song. Well, let me either, save it and play with it and make it be a thing, or here's the recording of it. It's on the shelf.
Yeah.
So, I'm one of these people where I work to live and I live to work. And it's never been more clear to me that the only reason I wore socks today was because I was going to be down here playing music with people. In the past year, in the past 6 months, in the past 3 months, the reason to get out of bed is that there is music to do. And I know that other people live different ways, but I have to, in the spiritual, they say, if I don't praise him, the rock's going to cry out. I have to make music.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie Ann Johnson and the Hidogs. Thank you so much for talking with me. This has been great and refreshing and therapeutic for myself, quite selfishly, if I can say that. This is Fisherman's Village Broadcast Happy Hour. Thank you so much, and your performance was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.